All right, get ready to dive deep
Yeah.
because today we are looking into the world of clean hydrogen production. And this one has got some serious potential.
Oh, yeah.
We are looking at ColdSpark,
Yeah.
a spin-out company from CI, and they are making some pretty bold claims about how they're going to revolutionize the industry.
Yeah, and they're not just aiming for cleaner hydrogen production, like you said. They're talking about a potential paradigm shift, like producing hydrogen more cleanly, A&D, more cost effectively than traditional methods like
Right.
steam methane reforming,
Yeah.
electrolysis, all that stuff.
While generating a valuable carbon byproduct. So we've got a lot to unpack here, and
Yeah.
we're basing this deep dive on ColdSpark's promotional document, which, as you might imagine, is full of optimism, but even with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Yeah.
This technology is worth looking at.
Oh, for sure.
So what exactly is ColdSpark claiming to do?
So they're utilizing what they call non-thermal plasma technology to split methane into hydrogen and solid carbon.
Okay.
Think of it kind of like a cleaner, more efficient alternative to traditional methods, like we said, like steam methane reforming and electrolysis.
And they're saying cleaner because there are no direct CO2 emissions from the process.
Yeah.
Right. No need for expensive carbon capture and storage.
Yeah, that's the key selling point, right? It's like a sustainable solution, they say, utilizing readily available resources like natural gas or biogas, which, by the way, can be sourced from renewable sources. So it's like double sustainability points there.
Okay, but let's get down to how this actually works.
Yeah.
What is the secret sauce that makes it so efficient?
Yeah, so it all comes down to the energy needed to break chemical bonds.
Okay.
Methane, or CH, has weaker carbon-hydrogen bonds compared to water.
Okay.
ColdSpark is essentially exploiting this difference to produce hydrogen using significantly less energy than electrolysis.
Hold on. Are they claiming to be more energy efficient than electrolysis, which is often touted as the clean hydrogen solution? That's a pretty bold statement.
Huge claim.
Yeah.
It is, they claim their process uses only 5.2 kilowatt hours of electricity per kilogram of hydrogen produced, while electrolysis requires a whopping 39.4 kilowatt hours.
Oh.
Now, whether or not they can actually achieve that level of efficiency at scale remains to be seen, but the potential energy savings are a key part of their pitch.
So we've got the clean hydrogen angle, the potential for lower energy consumption, and what else? They mentioned something about a valuable carbon byproduct.
Yes, and this is where it gets really interesting from a business perspective.
Okay.
Instead of releasing carbon dioxide, ColdSpark's process produces solid carbon that can be used in a variety of applications.
Like what?
From batteries to industrial materials and even high-tech sectors. So
they're pitching it as a double revenue stream, selling clean hydrogen AD valuable carbon. But is there really enough demand for these carbon materials to make this a viable business model?
Yeah.
That's a question we need to dig into.
big question for sure. Absolutely. And speaking of digging deeper, the document also dives into how ColdSpark's technology differs from traditional methods.
Okay.
They claim it operates at lower temperatures, which eliminates the need for catalysts, which can be super expensive and prone to deactivation.
Interesting. So they're saying this not only reduces energy consumption, but also simplifies the process and potentially lowers operating costs?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. It seems like they've thought through a lot of the practical aspects, but I can't help but wonder if their claims are, well, a bit too good to be true.
Yeah, I think that's a healthy skepticism to have, especially when you're dealing with promotional materials.
Of course.
So while their pitch is compelling, we need to peel back the layers and examine their claims critically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the investment opportunity itself. What are they looking for, and what's their roadmap for the future?
Yeah, so the document outlines a phased investment plan. They're currently seeking 30 million Norwegian krone plus additional funding through grants and loans by the third quarter of 2025.
Okay.
Their primary goal is to secure a Phase 2 grant from the EU to develop a pre-commercial prototype aiming for technology readiness levels 7 to 8.
So they're not quite at the commercialization stage yet, but they're aiming to demonstrate that their technology can work reliably in a real-world setting.
Exactly.
That EU grant certainly adds a layer of credibility, wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure. The EU is a major player in the push for clean energy, so their backing suggests that ColdSpark's technology is worth serious consideration.
Right.
However, securing grants is just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Right. Does it guarantee commercial success?
Right.
What else is on their roadmap for the next couple of years?
So they plan to transfer 5 full-time employees from SED to ColdSpark and hire an additional 5 to 6 subject matter experts within 18 months. So they're clearly gearing up for some serious growth, but they also emphasize the importance of staying lean and agile.
Okay.
Their stated goal is to demonstrate the viability of their technology within a 3-year time frame.
Ambitious, but it seems like they have a plan. And what about their long-term vision? Where do they see themselves in the hydrogen market?
So they've highlighted 2 potential exit strategies: acquisition by a larger company or scaling up to full commercial operation.
Okay.
Either path could provide a return on investment, but both come with their own set of challenges.
Speaking of challenges, this document paints a pretty rosy picture. But before we get too carried away, we need to look at the potential hurdles they might face.
Absolutely. In part 2, we'll dig into some potential challenges, areas where further scrutiny is warranted, and whether their claims hold up under a more critical lens.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm ready to poke some holes
Let's do it.
in this seemingly perfect picture that they presented.
For sure.
All right, we'll be back after a short break.
Sounds good.
Welcome back. I'm ready to poke some holes in this seemingly perfect picture. ColdSpark has presented scaling up any new technology comes with its own set of hurdles, right?
Oh, absolutely. Moving from a small-scale demonstration to a large-scale commercial operation is rarely a seamless transition. There are always unforeseen challenges that crop up along the way.
For instance, they tout this modular design as being easily scalable, but are there any technical limitations they might hit as they ramp up production? I mean, issues that might seem minor at a smaller scale could become major roadblocks when you're dealing with significantly larger volumes.
Precisely. And remember that impressive energy efficiency figure they quoted that's based on theoretical calculations. And as we know, real-world efficiency often differs, especially as you scale up.
So investors should be cautious about taking those numbers at face value until there's more real-world data to back them up. What about the carbon byproduct they're banking on, a second revenue stream from these carbon materials? But is there really enough demand to absorb what they'd be producing?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? They mentioned applications like batteries, carbon black, and graphite-like materials. But are those markets large enough to justify their projections? And even if the demand is there, can they sell this carbon at a price that makes it economically viable?
It seems like a lot is riding on the success of this two-pronged revenue model. Investors would need to see some serious market research and solid projections to feel comfortable with. What about the competitive landscape? Are there other companies out there working on similar technologies?
Yeah, the clean hydrogen space is getting crowded, that's for sure. There are numerous companies exploring various methods, from electrolysis and thermochemical processes to even biological approaches. ColdSpark needs to prove they have a unique edge, not just in terms of clean production, but also in cost and performance.
They claim to be the only producer of low-carbon hydrogen based on non-thermal methane pyrolysis. Have you seen anything to corroborate that claim?
That's where independent research comes in. It's crucial to verify their claims and compare their technology to others in the field. Investors need to see how ColdSpark stacks up against the competition, not just take their word for it.
Speaking of taking their word for it, they made a big deal about their partnership with the EU.
Yeah.
And that substantial grant they received. Does that lend more weight to their claims?
It certainly adds a degree of credibility. I mean, the EU is a major force in the clean energy movement, so their backing suggests that ColdSpark's technology has merit. But let's not forget, securing grants is just one step. It doesn't guarantee commercial success.
True, plenty of grant-funded projects have failed to make it to market. What should investors be looking at beyond the headlines of that EU partnership?
I think it's important to dig into the specifics of the grant. What are the milestones? What are the deliverables? And what happens if ColdSpark doesn't meet those requirements? Could they lose the funding? Those are all questions worth exploring.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a new technology.
Yeah.
But due diligence is essential. We can't forget about the regulatory landscape. Either hydrogen is a relatively new player in the energy market and regulations are still evolving. Could they face hurdles in terms of permits, safety standards, or even public perception?
Those are all very real possibilities. The regulatory landscape can be complex, and navigating it successfully is crucial for any company in this space. Remember, they touted the advantages of their location in Risavika, Norway. Have they secured all the necessary permits for a large-scale operation there?
Another critical question for potential investors. It seems like Every time we peel back a layer of this onion, more questions arise.
And that's precisely the point of a deep dive, isn't it? We're going beyond the surface and encouraging you to do the same.
We've highlighted some potential challenges and areas for further investigation, but what are the key takeaways for our listeners as they consider this potential investment? What should they be focusing on?
First and foremost, don't be swayed solely by the marketing, no matter how enticing it may seem. Dig deeper, ask tough questions, and do your own research.
The technology itself is fascinating.
Yeah.
But its real-world success hinges on so many other factors. Scalability, market demand, competition, regulatory hurdles. We've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah. Pay close attention to their financial projections. Are they realistic? Are they based on solid market research? Are they overly reliant on that carbon byproduct revenue stream?
And let's not forget about the team behind the technology. Do they have the experience and expertise to navigate the complexities of bringing a new product to market? A great idea can easily falter with poor execution.
This deep dive is far from over in part 3. We'll zoom out even further and explore the broader context of the hydrogen market, discussing how ColdSpark fits into the larger picture of the clean energy transition.
Okay, so we've dissected ColdSpark's technology
Okay.
and looked at their claims and uncovered a few potential pitfalls. But now let's step back and look at the bigger picture. Like, where does hydrogen fit into this whole clean energy puzzle we're trying to solve?
Yeah, it's a good question because it feels like hydrogen is having a moment right now.
It really does.
It's everywhere you turn.
Yeah.
It's touted as a potential game changer in the fight against climate change, but
Right.
hydrogen isn't exactly a new kid on the block.
No, it's not new at all.
Not at all. It's been used in various industrial applications for decades.
Right.
What's changed, I think, is the urgency to decarbonize our economies and find cleaner alternatives to fossil fuels.
Yeah, for sure. So where does hydrogen fit into that picture then?
Well, think of sectors that are difficult or even impossible to electrify directly.
Okay.
So like heavy industries like steel and cement production, long-haul transportation ships, trucks, even planes and seasonal energy storage. Those are all areas where hydrogen could play a crucial role.
I've heard people talk about different colors of hydrogen. Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, sure. Think of it as a way to categorize hydrogen production methods based on their carbon footprint.
Okay.
So the most common type today is gray hydrogen, which is produced from fossil fuels. Typically natural gas without capturing the CO2 emissions.
So not exactly a clean solution.
Not really. Then there's blue hydrogen, which also uses natural gas, but the CO2 emissions are captured and stored underground.
Okay.
So it's a step towards a lower carbon option, but it still relies on fossil fuels.
Right. And then there's green hydrogen, the holy grail.
Exactly. Green hydrogen is produced using renewable energy sources, typically through electrolysis, splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen.
Right.
It's the cleanest option, but also currently the most expensive.
So where does ColdSpark's technology land in this color spectrum? Because they're using natural gas as a feedstock, but they claim to produce decarbonized hydrogen. Can they really make that claim?
Yeah, it depends on how you define decarbonized.
Okay.
While their process doesn't directly emit CO2, they are still using natural gas, which has an upstream carbon footprint associated with its extraction and transportation.
So not entirely carbon-free, but potentially a step in the right direction if it can displace some of that dirtier gray hydrogen we're using today.
Right. And that's an important point to consider.
Yeah.
The transition to a fully decarbonized hydrogen economy will likely involve a mix of solutions.
For sure.
And technologies like ColdSparks could be a part of that transition.
We've talked a lot about the environmental aspects, but what about the economics? How does ColdSpark's hydrogen production cost compared to other methods?
That's the key question, isn't it?
Yeah.
They claim to be more cost-effective than electrolysis, but we need to see the numbers.
Right.
Remember, natural gas prices can be volatile, so their production costs could fluctuate significantly depending on market conditions.
And let's not forget that secondary revenue stream, they're banking on those carbon byproducts.
Yeah.
If the market for those materials doesn't materialize as they expect, or prices drop, their entire economic model could be in trouble.
Exactly. Investors should be asking some tough questions about their cost projections and sensitivity analyses, like
Right.
how will they handle fluctuating natural gas prices? What happens if the carbon byproduct market doesn't meet their projections? Those are all crucial considerations.
Okay, so we've looked at the hydrogen landscape and where ColdSpark fits in and some of the broader challenges and opportunities they face. What are the key takeaways for our listeners as they weigh the potential of this technology?
I think first and foremost, remember there's no magic bullet solution to the clean energy transition.
Yeah.
Technologies like ColdSparks, while promising, should be viewed as part of a larger portfolio of solutions.
Right.
And the hydrogen economy is still in its early stages.
Yeah.
There are technological hurdles to overcome, economic uncertainties to navigate, and regulatory landscapes to adapt to, so investors should approach this space with a healthy dose of caution.
But amidst those challenges, there's also tremendous opportunity, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, the demand for clean hydrogen is projected to soar in the coming years.
Huge, yeah.
And companies that can develop cost-effective, scalable, and truly sustainable solutions could reap substantial rewards.
Yeah, for sure. So as you ponder ColdSpark's potential, consider the broader context. How might their technology evolve alongside other innovations in the field?
Right.
What role might they play in shaping the future of the hydrogen market? And how might their success or failure impact the clean energy transition as a whole?
This deep dive has provided you with the information, the analysis, and the questions to ponder. Now it's your turn to delve deeper. Connect the dots and draw your own conclusions.
Exactly.
As always, the most rewarding part of the deep dive is the journey of discovery. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Until next time.